Welcome to Six in the Six, episode 12. Today's fabulous guest, Brooke Tangelder, Roberts
Hello.
Wesleyan University, hold it, sophomore defender
hmm
extraordinaire, um, and mindset warrior.
hmm
How the heck you doing, Brooke?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I get to sit here and do my podcast with amazing people, so that makes me happy.
hmm
Before we get started, though, we have to play the theme music.
Let's
Here
hear
we
it.
go.
Love it.
As, yeah, as you can tell, it was a little bit goalie centric with the
hmm
shot and all that. We've been branching out though and um, finding out more about other people outside the circle. So here we are. Um, welcome, welcome. So I noticed a common thread. I was researching you because that's what I do. So I seem semi prepared for these. And I
hmm
noticed a common thread throughout everything I could find from Little Brook to current Brook. And there wasn't too much to find on Little Brook, so don't get too nervous. Um, your major, social work, unless you changed it to biochem or something,
Nope.
still
Still
social
social work.
work.
Oh yeah.
And it's really interesting because I think as we ask some of these questions and explore some of these unique characteristics about you, I think that theme of social work really ties it together nicely. So I think
Mhm.
you found your calling.
Yes, I would say so. I'm happy about it too.
So let's start with a little bit about you. Um, when you first discovered the game of lacrosse, kind of how your love for it was fostered and how it grew, and definitely why you decided not to be a goalie, which we all know is the best position on the field. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So tell us how you ended up to where you are in your lacrosse career.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very athletic household. Both my parents were involved in sports at a young age, so they kind of wanted to push that on me and my sister as we were growing up. Nothing was forced, nothing was really pressured on us, so we kind of had the ability and power to decide which way we wanted to go, if we were gonna continue our careers in athletics or not. And my dad played lacrosse; he was big on it growing up, as well as a couple other sports. So he was my first inspiration to get into the sport since I'm really close with him. So it was mostly just to really just have that bonding with my dad to have that similarity. But also through lacrosse, I found a lot of my best friends back at home and even here. A lot of great community, a lot of great opportunities. And ultimately, it led me here to Roberts, and I love it. And I've learned so much, not only through the team and through being on this in the sport here, but also through the academics too.
That's
So I,
awesome.
yeah, so I definitely found a love through the game, just with everything that comes with it, not just the game itself.
You kind of skirted around the most important question that was in there is why you decided not to play the best position on the
Mm.
field.
Well, I will say I did try it in one practice in middle school and never again. I have so much respect for goalies. It's tough.
Yeah, it's I think all the positions are tough in their own way, but
hmm
I think it takes a special kind of
hmm
person to want things hurled at them at rapid speeds.
Right. Definitely.
Definitely not for everybody.
hmm
So athletic family, what other sports did you try? Did you bounce around a little bit and try some different ones until you settled on lacrosse being your final one, or did you kind of fall instantly in love with it and just run with it?
Yeah, so actually it's kind of a cool story. When I was little, like when I first started lacrosse, I never wanted to go to practices. I would pretend that I was sick or like that I didn't want to go. All these things, I would make up all the excuses in the world until my dad finally said, okay, like you have a decision to make here. If you don't want to play it, you could try other sports. So I tried other sports, tried soccer, tried golf. I played field hockey for a little while, did swimming and track. I was big on track for a while. And then ultimately I came just back around full circle to lacrosse. And I was like, no, like this is such a fun game. I love it. I love the connections I made, the coaching, just everything about it, and just the adrenaline I get from playing it. I love just the team sport aspect. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that all
definitely.
wrapped around.
when you circled back around to it, did you decide to start going to practices?
I did, yes. That was important.
Yeah, a
Definitely
little bit.
important.
I don't think you'd be where you were if you hadn't done that.
Right. Yeah, no.
All right. So kind of the first thing when I first asked you to come on and chat with me today, the thing that drew me to have you on was kind of your mindset work and your
Mhm.
mental performance ideas around that. Maybe maybe some of your background helped with that. Maybe where you currently are and figuring it out help with that. But um, what's the how do you feel the importance of that mental performance game, that mindset game is to you, both growing up in the sport and particularly, that was a great word, particularly where you are as a student athlete now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Definitely it was a growing process and it's still developing to this day. It's just a constant growth thing, not only through sports, but I can see it translating to the rest of my life and academics and with relationships, and with career paths. Definitely mentality. I feel like it comes even from the heart, like where your heart's at, like your love for the game, your love for the people around you. That is ultimately what helps me on my toughest days when it's like mentally draining or I'm just tired or down on myself. But definitely coming in with a positive attitude, just knowing you're here for a reason, knowing you're doing this for a reason, you have the gift and capability of doing what you do for a reason is really powerful. Yeah. And having people that will also foster that mentality too and be there to encourage and support you is important.
Yeah, so how do you in those times where it's being difficult for you, you have some challenges, you have some obstacles, maybe you're not performing up to where you thought you might be and stuff like that. How have you been able to tap into a strong mindset and kind of focus and get yourself to where you need to be?
Yeah, I would say especially in game time situations, what I do is if I'm really in my head, I make a mistake, I make a bad play, whatever the case may be, or even in practices, I look at the girl next to me or I look at my coaches. And I'm a religious person as well, so I'll even like look up and just take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm here for a reason and I play for this person in front of me. I play for you. I don't play just for myself. So that kind of takes the pressure off of me, even mentally. It kind of like lifts the load off, and I'm able to play for a greater reason than just myself and just for my own success.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that team aspect. I say it often that if we're not if we're not really able to, if we don't feel we're able to perform the way we should be, just giving to somebody else, one gets you out of that funk, at least in
Mhm.
your head, and quite often gets you completely out of it.
Right.
Um, have you noticed as you give to your teammates, as you focus in on playing for a larger cause than maybe what's right in front of us, have you noticed that kicks back to you and ends up lifting you and ultimately helping your performance?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it kind of lifts that weight and responsibility that I put on myself. And then I'm able to perform better because I'm focusing on the people around me rather than myself. And then, by encouraging them, lifting them up, I'm also feeling like lifted up from that because for me, encouraging other people is really huge. And I love being able to be their supporter and be there for them and be on their team. So I think all around, just like the positivity train, like we talk about at Roberts, that's even a great example of it, how even one just word of positivity can just spark to the next person, and before you know it, it's all around the field.
I love that. And there is your first tie to your social work calling. Um,
Hmm.
just wanting to reach out and help other people. Um, so kind of on that, you mentioned your faith and stuff like that. What kind of role, what part in that, in your entire performance on the field, in practice, whatever, does faith play for that? Maybe above and beyond just looking at your teammates.
Yeah. So faith definitely plays a big part in my identity, not only as a player on my team, but also just as a person. I know that I'm not defined by my performance, and that was a big thing I used to struggle with, just finding my identity on how I performed that day in practice or in a game and letting it dictate my mood, how I treated people, how I looked at myself. So I think just being able to like fix my eyes on God and just know like I'm created with a purpose and for a reason, and nobody on this earth can compare to me, and vice versa. Like no one's the same, no two people are the same, which is amazing. Just to focus on what I bring to the table. And then that also helps me to tune in more and be a better teammate to people around me and even friend off the field. Just because, I know the person I am and I know how I can contribute to this person's life and I see their strengths as well and I want to play off of that.
Totally love that. I need to get you working for Deny and doing some mindset stuff with me. Love
Awesome.
it. Love it.
Mhm.
So what are your what's some of your ideas around having the mental fortitude to, I guess it's kind of two sides, right? Having that mental fortitude to fight through those really tough times, and to me, it's also the other side of that, like the really good times. How do you have the
Mhm.
mental fortitude just to not blow up your ego and be like, yeah, I finally did it. I'm it, right? What's some of your ideas around both of those sides?
Yeah, I think honestly, we all have our moments, good and bad, on the field and off the field. I think just having a humble heart, just coming into the game, knowing like, like I'm here for a reason. I'm gonna do what I can. Through the good and bad, it's a team effort. Like someone set me up for that, or I was able to set them up for this. So it's really a group effort, in my opinion. It's not so much me. So I think just keeping humility, understanding, I'm part of a team for a reason. It's not just the Brooke show, you know. And even in the bad times too, just focusing again on my teammates and the people around me is really huge. On being able to stay disciplined and to be able to just snap out of it faster. Because I definitely struggle with that throughout the years, but I think now I kind of have more of a grip on it where I'm able to be disciplined enough to even physically just look at the person next to me and be like, all right, I'm playing for this person next play. I got your back. So
Love it, love it, love it. And that's really good. That really, everything we've talked about up to this point, and just the way you've responded and the way your thoughts are, um, leads up to, again, that social worker um, bond tie. But also, when I was working with a younger female athlete this year with her mindset and mentality, you were the first person to kind of raise your hand up and say, "Hey, I'll help with that." I've kind of been there and seen that. Um, is there anything that had you jump up at that opportunity to help someone a little younger, kind of above and beyond, or maybe just in addition to what you've already answered to some of these questions?
yeah, so what I do, I'm also a small group leader at my church back at home too, and I mentor a few girls who are, I think, in ninth grade, eighth grade, that age area. And same thing with the young lady that I was helping with. It's really a big thing for me because when you were talking about, her identity and being hard on herself and how on the field she shuts down, that is me to a T. Well, that was me to a T, but I feel like now I'm kind of up and out of that valley and, I'm doing good now. But just hearing that somebody even that young could be struggling with these things is very real and it shouldn't be ignored. So I respect that, people who ask for help or like reach out to me, I want to be able to help them and I'm glad that they do. So given any opportunity to be able to help with things that I'm passionate about or things that I've gone through and struggle with personally, I'm right on it. Like I'm all the way fully in and I want to help in the ways that I can.
I love that, and I definitely appreciated you for helping out, and I know she benefited from that greatly. Were there any, when you kind of saw yourself in that situation, back a number of years ago, middle school or wherever that was, besides what you talked about pouring into your teammates, about having your faith, those kind of approaches to that mental toughness, that mindset, whether was there one specific technique or thing that you found the most successful in really helping you get to where you are now from them?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing for me was just breathing, just being present in the moment, just taking even 1 or 2 seconds just to sit there and just take a deep breath and let it out and say, all right, we're going back at it. This is a new moment. We're just going to keep moving forward. Because if not, I find that I dwell in that moment. I just sit there and I kind of am stuck in that mindset. So I think just taking a deep breath and just releasing it has also helped me to just stop and pause because I'm a person who's go, go, go all the time. And like I'm constantly just thinking, doing things. So that's definitely something even God's put on my heart too recently, just to slow down, to enjoy the moment, and to focus on what's ahead.
How did you, in those moments, I love that, by the way. That's one of the things I've been seeing a lot of recently, is just the power of
Mhm.
that breath and keeping
Right.
yourself present. At what point in time, is it post game? Is it the day after and maybe it's not a game day, right? Maybe it's an exam or something even.
Mhm.
When do you give yourself the time, when and how do you give yourself the time to kind of reflect on the lessons of the past and what kind of happened and how those might apply to your path going forward? You know, it's one thing to stay right in the present, but I think we need to learn from what's happened so we can better shape our path.
Absolutely, yeah. So in those game time situations, you got to stay present, focus on what's to come, focus on the moment that you're in. Don't dwell on the past. But afterwards, I definitely reflect, after we have huddles or team meetings, whatever. The night after a game or a practice, I typically reflect, just like think to myself a little bit on like what's going on. I don't usually do it right before bed because then I'll just keep thinking and my mind will keep rolling and spinning. That's just the way my brain works. So I usually just like think a little bit about it, put it off to the side, and the next day I really sit and think about it. I'm like, okay, like I slept on it, so I have more clear thoughts, more clarity. I'm able to decipher different things, to learn from it, to see where I went wrong, how I can improve without it being something that's a guilt and shame thing on myself.
Yeah, I love that. I think, at least as coaches, we talk about having a 24-hour rule for like
Hmm.
heated discussions, whether it's athletes, coworkers, parents, whatever. But I think applying that to yourself is helpful as well because
Hmm.
we get in the heat of the moment too, right? Oh God, I stink. I knew I couldn't have done that. But when you kind of step back a little and can look at it more objectively, or maybe outside of yourself a little bit, like
Right.
you can
Yeah.
be like, oh well, geez, that wasn't that bad. It was, and you already mentioned you don't define yourself by that. So I think
Right.
that's a huge step too
Hmm.
in there.
Definitely.
Love it. All right. So I believe you were the winner of the USA Lacrosse Jackie Pitts Award in 21.
Yes, that's
Wow,
correct.
20. I had to double check that, and I had to triple check here because it doesn't seem like that long ago. It's like
I know,
you
really.
can't possibly be that young. Come on. So another tie to the social work thing, as I understand, this award is awarded to athletes that go above and beyond in service to basically their community, their team, the school, the family, and
Mhm.
things like that. Um, a couple things on that. Were you surprised to get it for one? And then kind of what what body of work did they draw from to choose you out of, I'm sure, many other worthy people?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely was surprised. I didn't know much about the award before I received it. I was kind of just doing my thing, doing what I knew how to do best. And I'm definitely involved in the community because I just love people and I love being able to help and get my hands on things and just get my foot in the door in places, see what I like to do to help others. And during that time, I was very involved with my church being at home, the ministries there, doing internships, very involved in community events. My mom owns a little boutique in this place called the Four Corners in Clarence Center. They have a lot of events, big community events, 2,000, 3,000 people. So definitely heavily involved in that as well. And then on top of it, in the athletic communities at my high school, I was very involved in that as well, being a leader on the teams on and off the field.
That's awesome. Was that had you started kind of mentoring younger girls at that point, or did that come a little
Yeah.
later?
Yeah. So I started that, I would say, my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. Did you start with like individuals, a group setting? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I actually, ever since eighth grade, I've been going with kids like as they've aged. So I started when they were younger, and then I kind of just followed them up as they got older. And then they actually had me hop ahead a couple grade levels, and I was working with the eighth graders, the ninth graders, some of the high schoolers when I was a senior. So it was kind of cool because I had my little sister. I was mentoring her and her friends, which was really nice because I'm close with her anyway. So just having someone who's walked in your footsteps before just to kind of guide you and who understands, what you might go through, the struggles you might face, and everything is very real. And I feel like sometimes we ignore it or we don't want to talk about it. So just being a safe person for all those age groups honestly has taught me a lot. Just seeing like how people progress and how as they learn, they have different struggles as well that comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think I love that you said kind of being in there and being in that educator mentor role that you
Hmm.
learned a lot as well. it's so easy to think we know everything until it's like, oh, could you explain that to me like you would tell a 3-year-old? And then you're like,
Yeah.
well, okay, maybe I didn't
Yeah.
know it as well as I thought I did.
Hmm.
Have you been able to, or have you thought? I mean, a lot of times I'll say for me, you get a little older. Not that I'm older, um, but I don't think that we look upward for those people for ourselves, right? We're always like, oh, I can mentor and help the people under, I don't want to say under me, younger than me and stuff, but um, have you flipped that around or to find somebody else to help you through the path where you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. And mentorship has always been huge for me. That's kind of what got me on track to being a mentor for other people as well, because I've just seen how much has impacted my life in such a beautiful way and just a positive way. And I also have a supportive family, which I'm very blessed for. So that's definitely helped me too, with my parents being mentors in my life. But I do have mentors at home, a couple that are still my mentors today. I still keep in touch. I was actually texting one of them yesterday about my games coming up. So yeah, I think having those people in your life, it doesn't matter what age they are, how you know them. I think you just know those people, and if you have them, stick with them because they have your best interest in mind. They're going to be there for you no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps too if you find people that are kind of out of the sphere of what you normally do, or at least have very
Right.
different perspectives. Because, like, if we only hung out with lacrosse people and you want to lament over an upcoming lacrosse competition, you only really have one perspective,
Right.
right? As
Very
opposed to
true.
somebody who might be like, well, you're a heck of a lot more than what this outcome may be, or
Hmm.
or what have you.
Yeah.
So when you were working with your sister and her friends, just kind of getting your feet wet in this mentorship role, is that kind of what started your thinking you might want to do social work, or did that come later as well?
Yeah, well, I always knew I wanted to help people. I thought that was going to be through anything medical, so I was actually signed on here as a pre-med student. And then that's when I was offered an internship through my church before I came here. So going into my senior year, and that kind of just flipped a switch. That's when I didn't even want to do ministry or social work. I put that off to the side. I'm like, I could never do that. That's not for me. And then that's when I kind of like grew in my faith a lot and was involved in the church community more. And God just flipped a switch, and I was like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. So I did the internship senior year, and even freshman year of college. I was a ministry major, and now I've kind of narrowed it down a little bit more for the path I want to go on, and it's social work with a minor in ministry. So yeah, just helping people in a different capacity.
It's almost hard for me to believe, knowing who you are now, that there was ever a doubt that you might actually excel at this path.
Yeah,
You
I had
seem
no
like a
idea.
natural. I,
Yeah.
I guess I guess you fall into your passion sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so when I think of like mentoring and ministry and kind of helping, I think of trips outside the country to, places that are more
Mhm.
needy or needing more deserving. Um, don't want to use the wrong terminology. To go help out people who, again, different perspectives and things. Have you had an opportunity to travel abroad?
I haven't actually. I'm hoping to have one soon though. Definitely missions is on my radar to be able to go out there and experience that and be able to live in a different culture for a time period, help the people there. I'm actually taking a lot of classes right now and have this past semester about missions and about different cultures and how missionaries, how they're supposed to function in those settings. So it's definitely very beneficial for me that I'm getting the education before going because there's a lot of culture shock. There's a lot of things you have to learn about the people so you don't offend them or do some things differently that might not sit well with them. So, yeah, definitely up and coming for that.
No, that'd be cool. You're
Yeah.
gonna be so good at it.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Uh,
excited.
yeah. How can't you be? I mean, it's
Hmm.
again, it's your calling.
Right.
So uh, let's flip the gear slightly here. What do you what do you think? What is one of the most important life skills, maybe related or not related to your calling, that lacrosse has kind of taught you or reinforced with you or kind of hammered home?
I would say first thing that comes to mind is discipline and work ethic. that good things come, in my opinion, good things come to those who wait, but also you have to work for it. You can't just be passive, just waiting for something to happen. I'm a strong believer in, you have to work hard for what you want. And I think along the way too, I've learned how to give myself more grace instead of being so hard on myself, which that's a big piece. I know some people who are, they have a great work ethic, they want to work hard, excel, do well, get better. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. So I think just escaping that mindset with everything we just talked about previously has been really healthy. And lacrosse and in sports in general, that's what it's really taught me, just to live my life in such a way that's intentional and genuine, that I'm putting in my best effort and that I'm not going to regret anything because I'm leaving it all out there.
Yeah, definitely love it. I love the pressure comment about just being able to find some relief of
Hmm.
it's not who we are, it's something we do. I think kind
Right.
of helps. And yeah, I think that's so important. And finding something outside of it, like what do you like to
Hmm.
do? Um, Go home and knit or hit golf balls at things. I don't, but having some kind of, I think, physical and mental and emotional release from, school, sports, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Good stuff.
I I love hiking. I love nature. I love going on the water in the summer, kayaking, doing whatever out there. I also love cooking. So cooking is definitely a big thing, especially I was just recently diagnosed with celiac, so I had to like readjust my whole diet, be very mindful of that. But it's been really fun, honestly, just having that as like a little escape every day, just like being excited for the food that I'm eating, knowing it's good for my body and it's going to heal me and be nourishing. So I'm really big on that too.
Yeah, I think we exchanged a conversation the other day about trying to eat healthy and the difficulties
Right.
it is and things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been I've been fighting that battle for a little bit, and I think I'm slowly having success.
Mm-hmm.
A little known fact. So you like to cook. It's a little known fact that I like to eat. So,
Oh,
those two things, you can
yeah, I
help.
see
You
what
can
you're saying.
hook a buddy
Yeah,
up sometimes.
there you go.
Um, all right. So last question. I think we may have gone beyond six, but whatever. So I'm going to make you be your own hero. All right. You're your own hero. You're writing your own fable to hand off to these girls, young ladies you mentor.
Mhm.
What is your story about in your fable, and what hero do you play in that story?
That's a great question. I would definitely say a big thing that I would want to just be able to deliver to them is having a humble heart and finding wisdom through that. Because I think a lot of times we act on our emotions or, what we think or we feel, and we're missing a lot of perspectives, no matter it being on the field or anywhere in like whatever platform you might be talking about. So I think just having a humble heart, knowing that you're there for a reason, and just having wisdom from that and clarity from that to be able to go out and be the best you can be in whatever setting it is.
Awesome. So, what was your superpower?
Hmm. Is it a mental superpower or just any superpower?
I do it. We don't put constraints on our superpower. It's whatever you just
Hmm.
projected out and were fierce at.
Hmm. I would do super speed, but also maybe like time travel or like travel, just like snap your finger, be in Hawaii type thing.
All right.
Yeah.
You can take your mentor group, bam, out to Hawaii.
Yeah, to Hawaii just for a weekend trip?
I'm in. Are we going to eat?
Oh, yeah.
All right, sign me up. All right, so that's the end of the Spanish Inquisition. Um,
Mhm.
of course, nobody ever knows the questions I'm going to ask. What fun would that be? So, as you
Mhm.
were fretting about hopping on the call, which I don't think you were fretting, just based on talking to you and knowing you, what did you think I might ask that I didn't ask, and how would you have answered it?
I wasn't really sure. I was talking to my roommate about earlier. I was like, I'm not sure what's going to be asked, but I kind of figured it would be something on the lines of my story and my journey, mentally with athletics, being a young athlete, female as well. But I was surprised with some of the questions you asked, how they were so specific and intentional. So I do appreciate that. And I feel like it really generated some good conversations that people could relate to.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so for whoever is next, not sure who's next on this, but whoever that is, what question would you like to ask them? Or probably more appropriate to have me ask them, but what would you like to know from your next guest on here?
Hmm. If you could give anyone in your life a word of advice, what would it be and
I
why?
like it. And, and why? Intentionality again.
Hmm.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Brooke, this was amazing. You're amazing. This, I was going to say, met my expectations because I had high expectations of you coming in. So it was high expectations and you met them. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you hopping on, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Nosy. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next time, or hold it, that'll be in about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yep.
Well, I will see you then. Thank you again, Brooke.
Of course. Thank you.
Bye.